Welcome to another CoH2 podcast. This time we're going to have a 4v4 on Hill 400. No, sorry. Okay. Now, Hill 400, let's actually get the fog of war off. The replay is going to be sent in by Davide, playing as the Wehrmacht down in the western end of the map. And his allies are going to be Brain, playing as the OKW. Let's see if he actually does have a brain, even though I doubt it. I sincerely heavily doubt it. Carry Stress in the jaw. Interesting. Playing as the Wehrmacht. And he has a whole bunch of Panzergrenadier bulletins, so he'll probably go for that. And OCs. Sieg Heil! Ich trage in Juden! Okay, sure. You fucking Jews? Something like that. You damn Jews? I don't know. Probably something like that. Now, OCs in the south already selected mobile defense, and he's already gone for 2 MG42s. Now, in the south, MG42s are pretty good because there's a lot of open areas, and for some reason my settings are at the lowest because sometimes Company of Heroes just removes my settings for whatever bloody reason. It doesn't help my FPS. I'm not sure if you can see my Steam FPS counter, but if I have my settings in medium, I get 40 to 60 FPS. If I have my settings at very low, I still get 40 to 60 FPS, so I'm not even fucking sure what Steam is all about. Now, the enemies are going to be playing as the British, and he's already selected Mobile Assault. So we will see if he can use the Infiltration Commandos in this map where Infiltration Commandos are terrible. But I'm sure that he has actually gone for the Land Mattress instead. I feel like that is what he wants to be doing. Also, Richard Zazanis, his ally, is going to also have Mobile Assault. And we have Exrutan and Boom SKL, both with Guard Motor Coordination. So we do have a couple of weird Doctrine Selection sort of coordination strategies, which aren't really coordinated. Now, Brain Carrier in the south is going to flank the MG42, but there's a second MG42 over here. It's not setting up, though, which means that it's going to be able to easily be outflanked by both the infantry section and the Brain Carrier. However, the Brain Carrier, I'm not sure what it's doing. It's kind of derping, and definitely the infantry section was not controlled in most optimal way. It could have definitely moved up north and actually done a little bit more to avoid getting wrecked by these MG gunners. Now, in the center, Carry Stress in the jaw and perhaps Davide, yes, they have been able to secure the center and gotten both of the watchtowers, which is good because, as you can see, the watchtowers see right up to the base. So whatever the allies do in the north, it was pretty obvious to our German players, especially in the center. Now, 3 Storm Pioneers and a Cubewagon from Brain, which is, I feel like, a decent choice for this map. However, the 3 Storm Pioneers may be a bit much. I feel like 2 could have been better, mostly because of the fact that the Cubewagon is really good on this map because there's a lot of sort of weird open spaces that you can use to flank around, capture points, get the hell out of there as quickly as possible. So the Cubewagon can be used correctly. Also, because of the long ranges of the engagements, it can be also a pretty decent sort of fire platform. However, for that, for example, I don't know, Volksgrenadiers would be better. So in the south, looks like there's 2 machine guns, and in the north, we have a penal battalion trying to take out these grenadiers, but the grenadiers are in a pretty decent heavy, or rather medium cover position. However, the penal troops seem to be getting the better of it. Of course, there's also a sniper coming in, and the Soviet sniper is going to be very dangerous for our German players, unless this Cubewagon, Hero Cubewagon, can actually come in and deal with the sniper. Now, remember, the Cubewagon does have an increased detection radius for stealth units, and also it's got a accuracy bonus against snipers. So in this case, it's very, very bad for these snipers to just stand in the fight when there's a Cubewagon shooting at them. As you can see, the Cubewagon is pretty good at taking out snipers. However, the main problem of the Cubewagon is that if it does that, then it makes itself vulnerable to everything else. So I'm not really sure what that was all about. Now, there is a M3 scout car just kind of standing here. It's actually going to be only now sort of noticed by Boom SKL, who is going to retreat. So at least he managed to see that his scout car was in a bit of a pickle from these 2 MG42s. Now, in the south, OCs went for a huge spam of machine guns, and while that can be a good idea, it's not exactly the best thing for pushing. So I'm just not really sure, like, what is his game plan. because he's got all these MGs and they're kind of just standing around, and he cannot really do much with them. If he was in the center like Davide and Carry Stress, then yes, that would make a lot more sense, because he's over here. They do have territory that they kind of control and are able to sort of defend, and there's something there to be defended. Whereas in the south, there's only one strategic point that's actually being covered by these 4 machine guns. Where are the other 2? There's one coming up north, and one. There's 5 machine guns covering. Yep. Oh no, yeah. There's only 5 machine guns. Okay, so again, OC's. I'm not sure what he's trying to do. That's the problem. I really want to understand what he's going for, but I just can't. I just cannot. There's no way. Now, there is a actually Wasp carrier in the center from Richard Zazanis. He's got a huge amount of manpower. I feel like a couple more players will be floating a little bit at least. Looks like Sultan has a bit of manpower saved up. However, actually the floating situation is a little bit better than what I expected. Now, Kira Special Ninja does have some Panzer Shrek upgraded peak rens, so he's going to be able to charge those up. Now, the machine gun retreat was a little bit premature. In fact, I feel like if he would have just retreated manually the machine gun till about here, he could have avoided most of that damage. However, a good choice of the Wasp carrier to deal with the support weapons at sort of a longer range, especially it's got a really good sort of damage bonus against units in heavy cover and buildings. Of course, there's not a lot of buildings on this map. However, there's a lot of heavy cover that, especially in the center with all these sort of trenches that are pre-built into the map, can be utilized. Especially the bunker can also be a good target for the flamer. However, it's not often that people actually use these bunkers for cover. Now, in the north, we do have a huge swarm of Penals doing a lot of damage against these engineers from the German players. However, it does look like there is one machine gun that is going to be flanked. This is the machine gun from OCs from the south. Again, the machine gun still not really being used correctly. We do have some mechanized support in the form of a half-track 251. Now, the flak half-track is pretty good against the Penals. However, the main problem is that the Penals, with the satchel charge, can actually do a lot of damage to the half-track, so the half-track needs to be very careful. As soon as it spots an animation of a satchel charge being thrown, it should definitely retreat as quickly as possible. Thankfully, the Penals actually missed a little bit, and so the half-track was able to, even with a delayed escape, he's going to be able to easily run. Now, there's actually a mine over here. It's going to be exploded, and it's not going to damage the engine of the half-track. However, the half-track is not going to attempt to escape from the satchel charge, the second one, so he's going to be destroyed. And what the hell just happened with that half-track? I mean, this is exactly what I was talking about. Really good against the troops. However, you need to be careful with the micro. You need to be sort of paying attention to your half-track, because that satchel charge will one-shot you. And it's usually pretty easy to avoid it. I mean, as soon as the satchel charge is thrown, you just move, and you will be able to escape. However, sometimes you just cannot sort of pay attention in time. Now, in the south, looks like a infantry section was actually wiped out by the machine gun push from OCs, which is interesting. I mean, I feel I feel like that was one of the weirder things. Now, looks like the machine guns are taking a lot of losses. There's only 2 machine guns left for OCs. However, I can only see 2 corpses of machine guns. Oh, right, the one in the north was also taken out. Or not? I'm not even sure anymore at this point. I'm just not even sure. Now, the Germans don't have any fuel control right now, but they are sort of pushing back in the north. We do have a lot of Sturmpiles dealing a lot of damage to these Guards Riflemen. Guards Riflemen being upgraded with the GPs, and I feel like a lot of Guards from both Soviet players are going to be important, because both Soviet players going for that tier 1 are going to need the extra anti-tank capabilities just in case the Germans come out with another light vehicle, especially if that light vehicle doesn't come and something like an Ostwind comes. That would also be a pretty good thing to have guards for, because, I mean, with 3 Penals on one Soviet player and 1 Penal on the other Soviet player, and no conscripts between them, no AT guns between them, they need some extra anti-tank, and the guards are going to be excellent for that. Now, nice rifle grenade going to take out a lot of these Vet 2 Penals. However, the Vet 2 Grenadiers are going to be retreated in time, so that was a pretty good play by Davide. Davide actually does have a pretty decent force. However, I feel like his Grenadiers are being used a little bit too defensively. Instead of standing around like this, I feel like he should be sent up to the north to deal a lot of damage to these penal battalions, perhaps in conjunction with his allies' efforts, like these pioneers pushing up. The Panzer Grenadiers have also been kind of not really doing much. Looks like they were forced to retreat, but not really before doing anything. So yeah. So actually, a penal squad was wiped by these combat engineers for the Germans. However, they weren't able to sort of retreat in time, and I feel like that was definitely a big micro mistake from Extruton, because that Vet 2 penal was the mainstay of his anti-infantry capabilities. Good play by Davide, actually coming up and trying to secure the cutoff point. However, I feel like he doesn't know that the cutoff point on this map is this one and not this one, even though it would probably make more sense to the one closer to the base as a cutoff. He actually took just a random strategic point. So I feel like these Grenadiers should definitely come down and capture this point over here, which is the actual cutoff. And they may be doing that just right now. So again, good play with these Grenadiers. Just always send one of your units, perhaps one of the weaker ones, perhaps this Pioneer squad, which actually planted a S-mine field in a pretty decent spot at the watchtower. Perhaps one of the unupgraded infantry squads to just go around capping. As you can see, Davide was able to take 2 points, and perhaps even the munitions point, though I'm not sure who the munitions point belonged to before. He was able to take all that without really losing anything. Now, the sniper is going to be retreated. The second sniper, I believe, from Ex-Rutan. It's got Vet 1, so it's been doing a little bit well. I feel like he should definitely be a lot more careful. I saw that earlier. He was just walking up a sniper up to enemies without really any sort of... And here's where the guards will come in handy, by the way. 2 German light vehicles, another 251 half-track, which is interesting. I mean, the other AA half-track is not the best decision. I feel like Brain should have gone for a tier 4 and gotten out for some... for some situations a Panzer 4, for some situations a Panther. However, he could have also gone for a tier 3 and gotten out Stuka. Stuka would have been excellent because of the sort of high support weapon usage that the Allies are doing. The British have an ET gun and a machine gun, and they might actually go for some emplacements later, so that would be pretty useful. The Soviets have 1 MG. I feel like also Ex-Rutan should definitely try to get out a AT gun because he's got the tier 2. Now, again, as you can see, the guards doing fairly well against the German light vehicles. In this case, even a SWS half-track was being blocked up to the battle area. For what reason, I have no idea, but it was actually destroyed by the guards riflemen. And the guards, along with the penal swarm, are going to be pushing up very, very much into the backyards of these German light vehicles, and they're going to do a lot of damage. There's actually a damage charge over here. The damage charge could be destroyed, could be used to destroy the 222, but the 222 will be actually avoided by just a sliver of sort of terrain. However, there's also a guard squad flanking. They will be able to get a few PTRS shots onto the 251 half-track, and they will be able to take it out. However, there is also a bunker over here from OCs. What is OCs doing here? I'm not sure. And it's going to sort of repel the penals. However, the guards are still up and running. They haven't been suppressed because the bunker was shooting at the penals, and the guards will be able to finish off the 222 half-track. So again, guards proving their worth once again. Really, really powerful at fighting light vehicles. And only now in the south, Davide's actual riflemen, the Grenadiers, have been sort of checked by the British. Before, the British weren't really doing anything about them. They will actually be wiped, unfortunately. That was a bit of a mistake that I'll retreat them. However, they did their job perfectly. They took the cutoff point, and then when the British came to retake the cutoff point, they actually went and took the other cutoff point, this time cutting off pretty much everything in the south. So again, this British player over here, Quetzalcoatl, I'm not even sure how you say that. I mean, he's an Aztec mythology person, I believe, or maybe a god. I'm not even sure. Definitely some Aztec names or whatever. Why would you name yourself that? Yeah, banter aside, I feel like he should definitely be a little bit more mobile. He's got so many troops down here because he keeps sort of repulsing these 1 MG attacks from OCs, and after that sort of 4 MG push that OCs did earlier, I feel like Quetzalcoatl could have just picked up a few of these scattered MGs, perhaps demo charged a few of his engineers. This destroy cover can actually destroy team weapons that are just lying on the ground. He could have definitely just picked up those machine guns, sent them off to the center, used most of his forces to take the center along with the other British player, and then use the support weapons in the south and in the center to just hold off a lot of territory. Instead, what he's done is he hasn't really done anything with these potential weapons that he could have. He's just letting them just rot on the ground, and he's just kind of sitting about, just tanning himself in the sun. I mean, I really don't see the point of just standing here, and I feel like he's definitely losing the game for the Germans, or he's losing the game for the Allies. He's just letting the Germans just take his territory, the territory that should be his sort of area of control, especially this cutoff point and these points as well. I mean, he could have been doing so much more. Now, OC's in the north has actually gotten out a Flak Panzer, and he's also got a Puma. However, there is a T-34-85 on the field from Boom SKL, and Exotron as well has gone for the Tier 4, and he's going for a T-34-85 just as we speak. So it is going to be pretty much no real contest between these armored forces. However, I feel like this usage of the T-34-85 is not exactly the best. It should definitely be supported by these penal battalions, because I feel like the T-34-85, yes, it's pretty good as a sort of all-around medium tank. However, if you just send it alone against infantry, it's not really going to do too well. Of course, it's also because Brain doesn't really, he's not really using his brain, and he's just kind of letting his troops die unsupported. He does have two Stern Pioneers with Panzertrex. He has lost on his Stern Pioneer squad. However, that is not the worst mistake that he's done. The worst mistake that he's done is the fact that he hasn't really used his Panzertrex to their fullest of advantages. For example, supporting his normal infantry. Now, pretty good play with the T-34-85, seeing that the Panzer IV was in the area and running away. However, actually excellent smoke from Carry Stress, allowing his Ostwind to actually, allowing his allies Ostwind to actually live. Now, Davide's Panzer IV is in a very bad spot, and it should definitely run away as quickly as possible, especially when you see smoke when you know there's enemy infantry around. You should definitely run away, because they may be able to use an AT grenade on you and destroy your engine. Also, there may be AT guns waiting on the other side, so running away is definitely the best option, and now the Panzer IV is abandoned. However, there is also a T-34-85 taking a lot of damage from these Stern Piles. Stern Piles are going to be able to deal quite a bit more damage before they are sort of beaten back. They do have a flamethrower, which is also going to help against the Allied infantry. However, there's just way too many Allied troops, and you should definitely run away. Now, infantry commandos actually have been upgraded with Fiats. I feel like that is definitely a mistake, because with the Stens, they could have done a lot of damage. Also, nice usage of the Panzertrex to destroy the abandoned Panzer IV to just prevent the Allies from recapturing it. And so, the tally of that engagement is 1 Panzer IV lost for the Germans and 1 Puma lost for the Germans, and really no losses, at least for now, for the Allies. But it may actually be sort of changed if the Germans can actually get a little bit of a line of sight over here on this area, because they do have a zeroing artillery just falling down, and the zeroing artillery is very dangerous against any kind of Allied troops that are just going to be standing over here, because the more you keep an eye out on the area, the more shells are going to fall down, and the amount of shells that actually fall down with the zeroing artillery is huge. However, OC's Panzer IV has walked into a little bit of a world of hurt, especially because there were 2 T-34-85s, along with a lot of Allied infantry. Of course, the Allied infantry took a lot of losses. The guards, one guard squad was actually lost, and the second guard squad was able to retreat with just 1 man left. And right now, the Germans are also running amok in the south. Now, Carry Stress does have a Panther and also a Panzerwerfer. I feel like the Panzerwerfer is probably one of the most important units right now for the Germans, because they really need some extra artillery on the field to just counter the Allied sort of support weapon strategy that they are sort of carrying forth. And I feel like if they use that Panzerwerfer correctly, they will be able to do a lot of damage. And I feel like the other Allied, or the German players, like Davide, should definitely go for other artillery troops. Definitely the best decision to go for that Panzerwerfer right now. Also, these Grenadiers should probably just put themselves in the heavy cover over here, or in alternative, try to push up to this area of the map where the Allies are at. Sip of water. Now, another T-34-85 will be completed by Exroton. Boom SKL is also going for a Su-85. I feel like the Su-85 is a pretty good decision because of the fact that the Germans are going to be bringing out some kind of heavier vehicles later on, and perhaps he has seen that the Germans have a Panther. I feel like he has, because his guards were sort of forced to retreat by the Panther. So definitely that went into his decision-making progress. So the Su-85 will be useful against the Panther at the longer ranges. Of course, it needs to be sort of supported in the flanks, or else if the Panther can manage to sort of catch it off guard, flank it, and circle strafe it, it's going to be very bad for the Su-85. However, the Germans do have plenty of support as well, so they will be able to deal a lot of damage to Su-85 if it goes around unsupported, even without the Panther, especially because Carry Stress does have 3 Panzer Grenadier squads of Panzerschrecks, and that's really good because the Panzer Grenadiers of Panzerschrecks have 2 Panzerschrecks per squad, unlike the other German troops that have 1 Panzerschreck per squad. So having that 6 volley of Panzerschrecks is extremely devastating against any Allied vehicle, especially if there's no Americans to come out with a Pershing and the British players don't want to be going for a Churchill. Now, Boom SKL is definitely sort of floating a bit too much. Now, excellent mine placement, it looks like, from the Germans. 1 Teller mine probably dealing a destroyed engine critical, or heavy engine damage critical to the T-3485. Second T-3485 also taking an engine damage, and the Panther from Brain is going to finish it off fairly easily. Now, the Panther from Brain can also probably try to finish off the T-3485. It's taking some damage from these Guards Riflemen from the flank, which means that it's going to take quite a bit of damage, and especially there is a Churchill from Richard that's going to deal quite a bit of damage and is also going to be pretty resilient against the Panther's AT rounds. However, if the Churchill tries to take on the Panther alone, it won't really do too well. Of course, with support, though, the Churchill is pretty excellent, especially with its sort of decent main gun and its very heavy armor. Supported by the AT guns, it is really excellent. Now, the land mattress will be on the field from Richard. This is the first artillery piece that the Allies have gone for. I feel like Boom SKL or X-Rutan should probably go for a Katyusha at this point, because they really need the extra artillery to sort of push through in the south and especially in the north. Now, in the south, the Germans are trying to make a push happen, especially with the Ostwind from OCs. David is sending some Grenadiers. However, his other Grenadiers are kind of staying idle, so that's a bit of a problem. Of course, the Germans haven't really been able to do much in the south, because in the south there's a huge amount of British defenses. However, at this point, I feel like with their armored superiority, they're kind of starting to see the cracks in the Allied line, and they can do a little bit of more pushing in the south, and it's definitely excellent for them. Now, OCs has a Command Panzer IV, and so most of them reserves from his mobile defense doctrine. I feel like because of the lack of normal troops that he's got, this is not the best decision. If he had a lot more sort of base infantry squads, excellent Panzerwerfer at the British Forward Assembly, by the way, which was a pretty good play by Carry Stress. However, it was pretty unlucky in that it didn't wipe any squads. Now, again, the Command Panzer IV would be a better decision if OCs had a more fleshed out army with a lot of different kinds of units. However, because he's got nothing, I feel like the normal Panzer IV would have been better to just have that superior main gun. Because, again, the normal Panzer IV is pretty much superior in every kind of way to the Command Panzer IV in pretty much everything except the, of course, Command Aura that the Panzer IV gives you. Now, good usage of the Panther taking out the Forward Assembly. Forward Assembly, of course, being very vulnerable building. Now, this Panther should definitely try to run over these infantry sections. Though I feel like the infantry sections should also be retreating as quickly as possible. Oh, boy. Oh boy, the infantry sections. Please. Okay, there they go. Finally, well, why did he retreat only the... Well, finally he's realized that he's getting demolished, and so he's going to run away. Now, there's also the Centaur AA tank. However, the Centaur AA is not going to be too effective if the Panther actually comes up. Unfortunately, the Panther is actually retreating instead of going forward to actually finish off the... AA. However, the AA is also taking a lot of damage from the Command Panzer IV because it's showing its rear armor, so even the stubby gun, 75mm of the Panzer IV command tank is going to be able to take it out pretty easily. Now, the Germans have finally managed to take the south, which is going to result in a triple cap, especially because the north is still firmly under the control of the Germans. The Allies cannot really do anything against this sort of defensive emplacement array that the Germans have built. However, I feel like if the Allies made a concerted push supported by artillery, they could definitely do a lot more up north than they're doing right now. Still, can't really blame them for like not making too much of a concerted effort. However, I can definitely blame them for not making too much of a concerted effort anywhere else, because yes, in the south, Mr. What was the name? I can't even remember. Quetzalcoatl was, yeah, he wasn't really helping his allies. He was really not doing too much. He could have been using his troops more aggressively. However, he was at least holding a VP. Whereas his own allies in the north and in the center, they are barely trying to just hold territory, to just grab a piece of land and hold it. Sort of the bite and hold strategy. They're not doing it. They are kind of going north, then kind of going center, then kind of going south. It's just really hard to describe what they're doing, because sometimes they push up, and it's mostly just the Soviet players, in fact, that are pushing up. Richard Zazanis has his Churchill that he's used sporadically. He has his land mattresses that he has used pretty much none at all. He hasn't really used them in any kind of way. He has his infantry that sometimes get demolished by a German MG. So I feel like he could have supported his allies a lot more. Now, a good push from 3 T-34-85s from ex-Rutan is going to destroy the Panther. Panther was definitely a little bit unsupported over there. Never leave your sort of specialized anti-tank vehicles such as the Panther without any support, especially if they're very expensive like the Panther. Of course, there's also the fact that the Puma over here was not retreated in time. It didn't use the Panzer Tactician smoke that it gets. It just could have done so much more to survive. And then T-34-85 still pushing up. Again, if the Allies would have done something similar to this a lot earlier, they would be in a much better shape right now, and they wouldn't have to deal with the fact that in 3 minutes they're going to die from all the sort of point bleed that they're taking. Now, really good play, coming in and destroying the Schwer Panzer quarters. However, at this point, Davide has a Panther coming in, and the other German players will likely have other armored troops coming in. Doesn't look like they have them yet, but they may be on their way in some capacity. Actually, no, they aren't. There's only a Panzerwerfer over here, still from Davide, and it's going to try to fire at the Fort Assembly, it looks like. No, the AT guns, perhaps. Well, it's probably not going to succeed too much, and it's going to probably be destroyed by the T-34-85s. Now, the Panzer Tactician was popped. However, the T-34-85s will be relentless and just chasing through the smoke, the fire, the destruction, and everything to destroy the Panzerwerfer. That was a good play. However, there is a strafing run from the Blitzkrieg Doctrine that Davide went for. It's going to destroy one of the T-34-85s and deal a lot of damage to the second one. Now, there's some guards trying to approach, but the Schwer Panzer headquarters was saved by the intervention of the Panther, so the guards will be suppressed by the flak gun on top of the Schwer Panzer headquarters. Now, there is a Panzerfaust from Davide's vet-free Grenadiers that is going to destroy this engine of the T-34-85, and there's also a Vet-4 Stern Pioneer trying to do its best to destroy the crippled tank, and it's going to probably succeed with its last shot. Now, the Panzerwerfer, I'm not sure where it fired, but it didn't really do much, it seems. The AT guns are still alive, and the Fort Assembly is still alive. All the British infantry is still alive, so that was unfortunate that it had to be sacrificed for such a pitiful result. However, at this point, the Germans are in commanding lead of the game, and pretty much they aren't going to lose. I mean, even with these two Grenadiers being destroyed, which is definitely a big mistake, losing these very valuable units, still, that's still not going to be too much of a big deal for the Germans, because they just have so much more map control and so much more sort of pop cap in general. There's so many more units that they do have to sort of do their bidding and push up, that they just don't really need to worry. Now, the Schwer Panzer quarters may actually be in a little bit of danger from the land mattress. However, the land mattress was targeted over here, which means that it doesn't really deal any damage to the Schwer Panzer quarters. And right now, the Stern Pioneers are going to be recapturing the north that was actually decapped by the Allies. And in the center, we do have a bit of a German push. Davide's Grenadiers are trying to deal a little bit of damage to these repairing infantry squads. There is a Churchill from Richard Zazanis. However, the Churchill is not going to be too effective against whatever the Germans can just bring up, such as these Panthers. Now, there is also a Brummbär on the field, which is a pretty good idea considering the amount of Panthers that the Germans have. The Brummbär would be good in case the game went on any longer, which it is not going to. However, if the game did go on longer, the Brummbär's anti-infantry capabilities would be very effective against these Penals and these MGs of the British. And again, in the south, finally the British try to do something to recapture this area, but they're going to be destroyed pretty much easily by a coalition of engineers and panzers from both Sicherheitsjuden, yes, Nazis, whatever. And yeah, the Su-85 still being kind of pushed back by these Panzer Grenadiers of Panzerschrecks. So yeah, again, the Su-85 is a pretty effective tank destroyer. However, if it's not in the fight when it is needed, for example, where it was needed up here, and it is not doing also what it is good at, which is also destroying buildings, such as this Schwer Panzer headquarters, which is pretty much out in the open. If an Su-85 had been here the entire time just shooting at it, there wouldn't have been much that the Germans would have had to sort of repel the Su-85. So I feel like that would have also been a good decision to use the Su-85 for, again, good unit, but if you don't really use it for what it's good for, it's not really going to be that great of a thing for you, and it's just going to be a waste of resources. Now, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the cast. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you soon.